Okay, let's dive in. For this deep dive, we're focusing entirely on one chapter, Jeremiah chapter 19. And honestly, right from the jump, this chapter, it hits you with some incredibly raw emotion.
It really does.
Jeremiah starts with this powerful lament. Oh, that my head were a spring of water and my eyes a fountain of tears. I would weep day and night for the slain of my people. I mean, you feel the sheer weight of that grief.
Absolutely.
But then, almost immediately, it shifts. He says, oh, that I had in the desert a lodging place for travelers so that I might leave my people and go away from them. It's quite startling, wanting to escape the very people he's weeping over.
And based just on the text itself, it's fascinating how it sets that up. His sorrow is clearly for his people, for the slain, but that desire to leave, the chapter immediately tells you it's because of them, because of what they're doing.
Right. So it begs the question, what is it about them? What's driving this intense reaction? The chapter dives right into describing their character, doesn't it?
It does, and it doesn't mince words. The core theme seems to be deception, almost like a national characteristic. It uses the striking phrase, they make ready their tongue like a bow to shoot lies.
Like a bow. That's not just speaking falsely, that sounds, well, weaponized.
Exactly. It's presented as intentional, aimed. And the text reinforces this. It is not by truth that they triumph in the land. Honesty isn't how they operate or succeed.
And it sounds like this isn't just, a few bad apples. Is it presented as more fundamental?
Very much so. The chapter says, they have taught their tongues to lie. It's portrayed as a learned behavior, something practiced. And it adds, they weary themselves with sinning. Like, it's exhausting, but it's what they do.
Wow. Weary themselves with sinning.
Yeah. And the text includes this declaration from the Lord. You live in the midst of deception, not just occasional acts, but inhabiting an environment saturated with it.
Living in it. And that kind of environment, it must just shatter trust, right? The chapter speaks to that too.
Oh, absolutely. It gives this really stark warning. Beware of your friends. Do not trust your brothers.
Your own brothers.
Yes, for every brother is a deceiver, and every friend a slanderer. Friend deceives friend, and no one speaks the truth. It depicts a total breakdown of basic human connection and reliability.
It's chilling, not being able to trust anyone close to you.
It really highlights the social collapse, and the text adds this insidious layer. With his mouth, each speaks cordially to his neighbor, but in his heart, he sets a trap for him.
So it's not even open conflict all the time. It's smiles and pleasantries covering up betrayal.
Precisely. That hidden element, that cordiality masking malice, makes the deception feel even more pervasive and dangerous in the description.
Okay, so deception is rampant, trust is gone. The chapter also points fingers at their relationship, or lack thereof, with the divine.
Yeah, it explicitly connects their interpersonal behavior with their spiritual state. It says they go from one sin to another. They do not acknowledge me, referring to the Lord. And it calls them all adulterers, a crowd of unfaithful people. In this context, that language often carries a double meaning, literal adultery perhaps, but strongly implying spiritual unfaithfulness, breaking a covenant.
So this paints a really grim picture of the people. Given all the lies, the betrayal, the unfaithfulness, where does the chapter say this leads? What's the divine response described?
Well, the text flows directly from describing the sin to the Lord's stated reaction, and it's framed almost as an inevitable consequence. The Lord says, see, I will refine and test them, for what else can I do because of the sin of my people?
What else can I do? That sounds heavy, like a point of last resort.
It does, and the text follows up with these rhetorical questions. Should I not punish them for this? Declares the Lord. Should I not avenge myself on such a nation as this? It frames the judgment as a just and necessary response.
And does it give a specific reason why this judgment is coming, beyond the general sinfulness?
Yes, later in the chapter it spells it out. It is because they have forsaken my law, which I set before them. They have not obeyed me or followed my law.
Okay.
Instead, they have followed the stubbornness of their hearts. They have followed the Baals as their fathers taught them. So the text explicitly links the judgment to abandoning God's law and turning to idol worship, a pattern passed down generationally.
And the consequences themselves. The chapter seems pretty graphic about what this judgment looks like for the land and the people.
Oh, extremely. It describes utter desolation. For the land, it says, I will weep and wail for the mountains. The desert pastures, they are desolate and untraveled. Even the wildlife is gone. The birds of the air have fled and the animals are gone.
Like the whole ecosystem collapses.
Yeah, the natural world itself is depicted as ruined, and the cities fare no better. I will make Jerusalem a heap of ruins, a haunt of jackals, and I will lay waste the towns of Judah so no one can live there. Total destruction and abandonment.
A haunt of jackals. That's stark imagery. And what about the people themselves? What does the text say happens to them?
The personal consequences described are just as severe. The Lord declares, "See, I will make this people eat bitter food and drink poisoned water," suggesting intense suffering, right?
Misery.
And then exile and violence. "I will scatter them among nations that neither they nor their fathers have known, and I will pursue them with the sword until I have destroyed them." So it's suffering, displacement, scattering, and ultimately, death. A complete undoing.
Wow. So after outlining this incredibly bleak future, the chapter then shifts to mourning. It calls for lamentation.
It does. It's quite striking. The Lord actually commands it. "Consider now. Call for the wailing women to come. Send for the most skillful of them."
Professional mourners.
Exactly. Let them come quickly and wail over us till our eyes overflow with tears. It's like saying, get ready. The grief is going to be immense, so bring in the experts. It underscores the certainty and severity of what's described.
That really drives home the scale of the disaster predicted in the text.
It does. And the chapter even gives us the words of the lament. "The sound of wailing is heard from Zion. How ruined we are. How great is our shame. We must leave our land because our houses are in ruins." It connects the weeping directly to the shame, the exile, the destruction already outlined.
And the descriptions of death in this section are, well, they're pretty explicit.
They really are. It says, "Death has climbed in through our windows and has entered our fortresses." It's portrayed as an unstoppable invader, reaching even the most secure places.
Nobody is safe.
No one. It has cut off the children from the streets and the young men from the public squares. It affects every part of society, every age group, according to the text.
And there's that final image of the dead bodies.
Yes, that's particularly brutal. Say, "This is what the Lord declares. The dead bodies of men will lie like refuse on the open field, like cut grain behind the reaper with no one to gather them."
Like refuse. Like garbage.
Or like stalks left after harvest. Uncollected, unburied, worthless. It's a devastating picture that directly reflects the consequences foretold earlier in the chapter, stemming from the people's actions.
Okay, so we've journeyed through the sorrow, the deep societal corruption, the harsh judgment, the graphic consequences, the commanded lament. It's heavy stuff. But then, right near the end, the chapter takes a significant turn, doesn't it? It shifts focus to value, to what really matters.
It does. It's a powerful contrast. After all the descriptions of ruin and misplaced trust, it offers this clear directive about what not to boast in.
Right. It says, "Let not the wise man boast of his wisdom, or the strong man boast of his strength, or the rich man boast of his riches." These things that society often values most highly.
Exactly. Wisdom, power, wealth. The text explicitly says these aren't the things to build your sense of worth upon.
So if not those, then what? What is worth boasting about, according to Jeremiah 9?
The text is very specific. "But let him who boasts boast about this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord who exercises kindness, justice, and righteousness on earth. For in these I delight, declares the Lord."
So it comes down to relationship and character. Knowing God, and specifically knowing God's commitment to kindness, justice, and righteousness.
Precisely. According to this chapter, the ultimate value, the only true basis for boasting or finding significance, isn't in human achievement or possessions, but in grasping the nature of the divine and aligning with those core characteristics of justice, righteousness. These are the things the Lord delights in.
That's a profound reframing after everything that's come before. It pits worldly metrics squarely against this relational, ethical understanding of God.
It really does. It's the chapter's answer, in a way, to the chaos and deception described earlier.
And the chapter closes with one final potent image related to circumcision.
Yes, those last verses draw a really crucial distinction. The Lord says, "The days are coming when I will punish all who are circumcised only in the flesh."
Only in the flesh.
Right. And then it continues, "For all these nations are really uncircumcised, and even the whole house of Israel is uncircumcised in heart."
Uncircumcised in heart. What's the point being made there, just based on this text?
It seems to be highlighting the difference between an external marker, a physical ritual like circumcision, and an internal reality or disposition. The striking thing is that the text groups Israel with other nations, saying they all lack this inner quality, the circumcised heart.
So the outward sign isn't enough.
Apparently not, according to this passage. It implies that simply having the physical sign or belonging to the group associated with it is insufficient if the inner orientation, that understanding and knowing of the Lord, the delight in kindness, justice, and righteousness mentioned just before, is missing. The heart condition is what truly matters.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Jeremiah 9, we started with Jeremiah's intense grief,
Hmm.
moved through this devastating portrait of a society riddled with lies and broken trust, saw the declaration of severe judgment, desolation, suffering, death, and then landed on this counter message about true boasting being found only in knowing God's character, specifically kindness, justice, and righteousness. And finally, that distinction between outward signs and the state of the heart.
It's a roller coaster of a chapter, for sure. And, even though it's ancient, the themes feel disturbingly relevant. Pervasive deception, the erosion of trust, the consequences of abandoning ethical foundations, the search for genuine value versus superficial metrics. These are things we still grapple with intensely today, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That description of friends betraying friends or speaking nicely while setting traps, that resonates in uncomfortable ways sometimes.
hmm And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, drawing straight from this chapter. Consider that ending about circumcision. The text distinguishes between the outward sign in the flesh and the inner reality in heart, and finds even the chosen people lacking in the latter. Based only on the descriptions we've explored in Jeremiah 9, the lying tongues, the untrustworthy hearts, the following of stubbornness instead of God's law, what might it mean, practically speaking, to be uncircumcised in heart, as this chapter portrays it? What does that look like lived out compared to simply having the outward label or performing the ritual? Something to really chew on.